Adapalene versus Retin-A or Tretinoin. What's the difference and which one is best for your skin? Both of these ingredients are so often spoken about because they are known as the gold standard in dermatology. They are known for treating acne as well as acne scars, but can also help with fine lines and wrinkles and hyperpigmentation. Now, there is a difference between these, especially about how they came around. And today I want to share the science behind these different ingredients, how they actually work for your skin, and which one might be right for you, as well as options that are available from prescriptions to things you can find over the counter to prescriptions that are custom blended for you. And I've been able to speak to some dermatologists as well as some dermatology care providers to make sure that this information is up to date, because as new ingredients change and are tested, sometimes the results that we can see or the medical studies that we have change as well. We're working with Dermatica on a short part of this video, but we're going to talk about that later because first, what exactly are these ingredients? Well, they are all part of the vitamin A family. You see, vitamin A, or retinoic acid, is actually made naturally by our bodies. It's primarily made in the retina of the eye, and it is super potent. It is what's called bioavailable, and that's exactly what tretinoin or retinoic acid is. And if you get the pure stuff, it is potent. It can sting, it can peel, but tretinoin was really the first generation thing that was created. This is the most bioavailable form, meaning that the body can just take it and use it as is. Whereas if you get something like retinol, something that you might find over the counter, this needs to be oxidized twice. Your body needs to turn it into the potent stuff in order for it to be used by your cells. Adapalene is a little bit different. It's what's called a second generation retinoid. It's basically a cousin molecule to tretinoin, and it's known to be much more gentle. But when tretinoin was actually created, fun fact, it was actually tested on prisoners, which is a total story for another day. But while acne on these people's skin was being treated, researchers realized, wow, this also works for fine lines, for aging, for wrinkles. This works for dark spots and pigmentation, and yes, even rosacea. Tretinoin, however, is super potent, meaning it usually comes with retinization. About 50% of people who try a prescription strength retinoid have some sort of issues. That could be flaking, peeling, redness, irritation to a skin barrier, etc. And there are ways to kind of handle this. For instance, if you titrate your retinoids, a lot of people when they first get prescribed tretinoin or Retin-A start it once a week and then they kind of build up, or they'll use it with a moisturizer or some sort of an occlusive barrier so it doesn't directly touch the skin. That's a way to kind of dilute it and make it a little bit more easy to use. Now, tretinoin or Retin-A is the most potent form that you can get, and you can only get it from a prescription, or you can get a custom blended prescription like the one that I personally use. Now, how is that different from Adapalene? Well, remember that Adapalene is this new generation retinoid. It's a second generation retinoid. This is actually a synthetic molecule that was created to deal with some of the issues that tretinoin has. Now, when Adapalene was created, it was known as different. You might remember that, and it was a prescription. There's also Epiduo, which combines Adapalene with something like benzoyl peroxide. Benzoyl peroxide is also amazing for acne, but benzoyl peroxide and tretinoin really don't play well together. They have a lot of irritation, and they can even cancel each other out because tretinoin is very unstable. Adapalene plays much better with other acne-fighting ingredients such as antibiotics and benzoyl peroxide, and it's not as sensitive to light. For example, if you wear tretinoin outside, it's going to degrade. So this is best used for night only. Whereas with Adapalene, this doesn't get degraded by light as quickly, and so you can use it throughout the day as well as with other ingredients. Adapalene is also much more gentle on the skin, so it doesn't traditionally cause as much redness and peeling and irritation as pure tretinoin does. It can still cause redness and irritation, it can still bother some people, it's still recommended to titrate or to build up, but it isn't as dramatic as something like tretinoin. Now, what about actual results? Tretinoin packs a pretty punch and it gets to work. Adapalene has actually only been tested in the realm of acne. There is reason to believe that it helps with wrinkles and fine lines, and there are some new medical papers on that, but in general, Adapalene is usually more acne focused, and that's what it was created for. Now, while you have to get this as prescription, you can now get this over the counter, which makes it much easier. Because you see, even if you're trying to use both benzoyl peroxide and a retinoid in the same routine, it might be hard to figure out when and how to use them. And then even if you're going for an easier retinoid to use, such as Adapalene, there are still some complications when it comes to mixing them with things such as benzoyl peroxide or other acne-fighting treatments. This is one from Dermatica. This is the one that I've personally been using and recommending for 3+ years. Dr. Mamina is amazing. She's a triple board certified dermatologist and internist, and she was the one that originally got me hooked on this because I watch her TikToks. She has a bunch of them with her and her Japanese mom and their beauty hacks. I'm just obsessed with her. But this little bottle has a 28-day supply of skincare, and specifically mine is acne medication, so it's made for me. I do still have breakouts. Do you see this one? It is very painful. Dermatica has a bunch of things that they can mix in, but if you're looking to take the guesswork out, this is what I would recommend. It's about $25 a month, but fun fact, I actually have a way that you can get an entire month for free and then 15% off in the future. All of that is linked below, but even if you don't want this, again, there are other options. For example, this is from Acne Free. This is a cruelty-free version of Differin. I normally get this for $11, maybe $15 on Amazon. You can also get this at some pharmacies such as CVS. And then when it comes to tretinoin cream, dude, this could be $500 if you don't have insurance. But if you do have insurance, or if you have a PPO, or you use GoodRx, something like this could be a couple of bucks, maybe 5, 10, 15, and you do get a very large container. And when it comes to being able to use these, you always want to follow manufacturer's directions or what your provider has prescribed to you. If this is your first time using any form of retinoid, you do want to build and then slowly graduate up. Because these are month-long tubes, it really is easy to graduate up, so they'll start you on a small amount or a small percentage and go higher. Whereas if you're getting something like tretinoin, your doctor or dermatologist can prescribe a lower amount, or they're probably going to tell you to layer it or sandwich it along with moisturizers or something like Vaseline. If you're really looking to go simple, The Ordinary does have retinol and squalane. Remember, retinol is the most basic thing that you can get. You don't need a prescription for it, but it's really not that potent. And it needs to oxidize twice to become the active form. But this is a 0.5. They also have a 1%, and you can kind of graduate up if that's something that you're looking for. So when it comes to these different retinoids and how they work, Tretinoin/Retin-A versus Adapalene, which one is right for you? Well, if you have acne, especially if you're a little bit more sensitive and want to wear that medication during the day, Adapalene is probably going to be a better bet for you. Just because it isn't as photosensitive, meaning it's not as light sensitive, and it's actually been tested and proven to work on acne-prone skin, that's what it was formulated for. And with anyone who struggled with acne, you already know that the skin tends to get red and irritated and inflamed. So if this is actually created to avoid that and be a little bit more gentle, it's probably a better bet. Now, there's reason to believe that it also works for fine lines and wrinkles, but we don't know that for sure. Same with things like rosacea, melasma, or hyperpigmentation. Whereas, who is right for tretinoin? Well, if you have pretty resilient skin, if you're not afraid of a little retinization and you want something powerful, this might be right for you, especially if you are dealing with fine lines and wrinkles, deep acne scars, pigmentation, or like the mask of pregnancy, also known as melasma, or things like rosacea. This might be right, especially because of the medical studies that back it up. Now, with both of these, you need to understand your skin and what your skin is actually going through. Rosacea, especially if it's pustular, can sometimes look like acne, which can also look like a staph infection. So you need to get a diagnosis to make sure that you're treating the right condition. Dermatica, being a compound pharmacy, does match you with their dermatology care providers and actually helps to assess your skin based on an online quiz. If you do go into a medical office and get a prescription in person, a doctor, dermatologist, or practitioner is actually going to look at you. And if you go to like a CVS or a store, you're probably out of luck. The cashier probably does not know really what's going on with skin and is probably not licensed to diagnose you unless they've gone to medical school and have those credentials. So when it comes to basic Adapalene that you get over the counter or online, you can still rely on diagnoses that you've gotten in the past, but you do need to be a little bit more careful. As noted, if you want a free bottle of Dermatica, I'm so grateful that they are willing to give these away. I have really seen huge benefits in my skin from using it, even though I do still break out from time to time. And there are many different custom prescriptions out there, but especially if you are struggling with things like redness and irritation, I find that out of all of them, Dermatica lends itself really well to that. And of course, this is going to be different for every person's skin. It also depends on what else is in your routine and how these things work together, which is why it's a really good idea to share with your esthetician, your dermatologist, or another care provider, or someone online exactly what your routine entails so that they can help to customize it to you. And also ask them to make sure that they're familiar with the products that you're using, and try to find someone who is either familiar with that or the main ingredients, or is open to having that conversation with you. I'd love to know if you've tried both Adapalene and Tretinoin, the differences for you. For me personally, Tretinoin was very drying and reddening. Adapalene did not work as quickly for me, but it still was effective. It was just more gentle and I could use it during the day. So let me know how that's worked for you. Always remember to stay hydrated both orally and topically. Reapply that sunscreen, which is an absolute necessity if you're using retinoids. Myth busting time. No, retinoids do not thin the skin, but again, they cause your skin to create new cells from the bottom up. So you want to make sure those skin cells are protected from the sun by using sunscreen daily. And of course, always remember to be beautiful both inside and out. I love you and I cannot wait to see you in this next video. And of course, to read your stories. I want to read your retinoid stories in the comments section. Love you. Bye.